Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. In this tutorial we're going to be looking at a Patreon question, and they have a 3D scan of a nose cone, this one here, and they want to create something called a buck or a former to create this out of metal. This is a wooden former that goes in here, allowing you to beat metal over the top to create the shape needed for the part itself. For this we have a 3D scan, and it's been taken from the original part. So here's the original part, and here's the aircraft that it sits on. In this first tutorial, we're going to look at the mesh workbench and simplify this imported STL and prepare it ready for cross-sectioning to create the forms that's needed. So I hope you're enjoying these videos, and let's have a look how we tackle a subject area like this. If you like what you see and you want to donate to the channel, then you can do so via Ko-Fi or Ko-Fi at ko-fi.com/MANG0 or via PayPal at paypal.com/paypalme/DarrenBEstone. I also run a Patreon where you can get early access and additional content, and that's at patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Links can be found in the channel header, on the About page, or in the descriptions of these videos. So I'm in FreeCAD. I've already started a new document, and we're going to use the mesh workbench to first prepare our mesh from the STL. Go into File and Import. Now when we import, we have this 3D scan here. If I hover over it, you can see it's quite large, 112 megabytes. Click on that and open it. Once it's opened, we can see how the computer lags when we try to rotate around it. Quite a lot of information in there. And if I come over to the tree view and click on the mesh and look down onto the data tab, you can see that in the meshes, if I open this up, we have the points, edges and faces. We can see this is quite high at the moment. Now, when we use 3D scanners, it adds additional information that we don't need. And normally we get a number of almost like layers in here, and these appear as components. So if I take this original mesh, come up to meshes and split by components, what will happen is that this will be split out, and you can see how many components we have in here. Always remember to hide the very first one here, the very first mesh, which is the STL. Matter of fact, I'm going to delete it. So we have our first component. You can see it's highlighted the whole of the shape in there. And if I press the spacebar on that, we can see what's left. So we can see we have a number of other parts in here, and basically they're a bit useless to what we want to use this for. So we look at this part here, probably part of the scan that's not been scanned properly. I'll bring back this component here. Let's zoom out. It sits over the top of there, and it's not part of that object. I press the spacebar on there to get rid of that, and that's got rid of that, and it all looks fine. So I'm going to hide the first one, first component, bring back this one. I'm going to click on this component, come down to the bottom, and shift click on the last one. So we've got all those there and hit delete. So now we've got this first component here. And what you'll see is that the face count, faces here, would have dropped. But we've still got quite a few faces in here, and you can see it's taken a while to move around the screen, etc. I'm going to drop the face count of this by using decimation. First of all, before I do that, I want to repair any problems with this mesh. So click on the component, come up to meshes, and we've got analyze and evaluate and repair mesh. Click on that. You can see the component that's been selected here, and we've got a number of different operations that we can run to repair the mesh. I'm going for the repetitive repair, and I'll click analyze. And this will run through all of these checks, and you can see it's run through all of these now. And at the moment, I believe it's on the self intersections. It's just running through that. It's saying no information there. So we're on this one, just running through that. And let's see if we can find any self-intersections. So it says repair there. So that's click on this repair. That'll go through repairing that. And if we've got any other problems, it will repair those as well. So we just wait for the progress bar to finish. And once it has finished, what you'll find is the number of faces will have dropped. And we can click close. This is still data heavy. So what we need to do now is decimate this mesh. And that means reduce the face count in here. So take the component, cut to meshes, and come down to decimation. We're going to be using this to create a former out of. So we just need the curvature of this, create a number of cross sections. Let's bring this right up to something like 95% and hit OK. With 3D scans, you'll find that you can go quite high on this, and straight away you can see that we haven't really lost any quality in here. Let's look inside and see what we've got. You can see we've got this patch here, which is a bit of an anomaly inside, which may fit our cross-section in. I'm just going to test the cross-section in across that part there. So that's view and toggle the axis cross. We can see the axis cross there. And I'm just going to use a simple cross-section. Really, I want to do this in a polar cross-section, but we're just using the simple cross-sections, also available from meshes, cutting, and cross-sections. So we've got one there. Let's use the XZ plane. Let's try YZ, that's better. And increase the amount of sections. So we go for sections, click on that, and increase that up. And place them on both sides. Just going to place a number in there to see what it looks like. And OK that. So we've got the cross sections running through there. Let's click on the mesh itself. So this one here, and press the space bar, and just inspect those cross sections. Now you can see we've got nice cross sections going through this way. I know these cross sections aren't angled the way we want it actually to follow the flow of the object, but we'll get to that soon. If we look at this part, you notice we have two edges here, and we've got a number of problems in here as well. If we look back at the component, press the space bar. On the outer surface, we're fine. If we look at the inner, you can see where the problems are appearing. So we've got problems around here and problems around this section. So these kind of anomalies inside. And if we look to the side, let's see if these are detached from the actual surface itself. So I can't see anything that stands out there. What I'm going to do is take the component and we'll flip the normals. Let's click on that and see what it looks like. So we flip the normals around, so we've got the outer surface coming in, and we've got a different lighting within. So we've got lighting slightly different from in, and you can see that we've got definitely a bit of a problem around here. So how do we fix that? Let's just flip the normals back, click on the component, and use the flip normals again. And what we need to do is remove this part here. We can do that by using this tool. Remove components, also available from meshes, and remove components. Just going to zoom in to get myself positioned. And I'm going to select a region. Click on region, and I'm going to select a region. So I'm going to come in here and select this region in here. Just with the mouse, click and drag in. We're dragging a region around there. And when I release, you can see it's selected in red. I'm going to hit delete. So we got rid of that. If we move over to the other side, we can see it hasn't affected that in any way. And let's work on, I can see some more in here, or is that, this looks like where the mesh, there's holes in that mesh, so we don't want those. And that's come around to the other side. So we've got to work on this now as well. I'm going to click region again and select these regions in here. Do them one by one. Hit delete. And region on this. And click on delete again. So we got rid of those. And just looking inside, we've got something else in here. You can see those in there. We've got a bit of a problem in here. Put this on the side, we can see that within. Now that's close out, and I'm going to select the component again. And we'll click the component. Let's fix it. I'll come out to mesh, analyze, and evaluate and repair. Click the individual ones, so we've got no flip normals, analyze, and working our way through. So you can see we've got 113 non-manifolds, and it's highlighted those. So we can repair those. Let's get rid of those. And working our way through. No self-intersections. So that's fix those. That's close that. And I'm going to click on component. And once again, come up to meshes and come down to split components. And you can see we have a number of components in here. So let's click on the first one, press the space bar. So that gives us this one here, press the space bar on that. And now you can see that we've got this in here, which we can get rid of. So let's get rid of that. So let's click on this one and come down to the last and hit delete. Let's bring back our other component. And now we should have a nice mesh to deal with. So it's like a repetitive process. If we see anomalies, we can actually delete them from within. And they may be separate components, they may not be. If they're not a separate component, we can delete the faces or pick regions to delete. If they are separate components, then actually splitting out the components and then removing the ones we don't want. But it's not to say that we can go further. There may be even more components within. Another analyze and repair may break that up into components again. So it's that repetitive process there. And we finally get to something that we can use. So I'm going to select this cross section, hit delete. We've got some problems here, but we're using this just for cross sections. So I'm going to select that mesh and have a look at the cross sections on the YZ. Sections on both sides and increase the number. And hit OK. So now when I click on the component, press the space bar, we should have some nice clean cross sections going through there. So it's much better now. We've got obviously some anomalies up here. And that is just one of the connection points, I believe. So we're actually looking nice and clean. Obviously, we won't need cross sections that go this way. We actually need cross sections that radiate out. One thing we need to do before we do any cross sections, delete that and bring back our last component. And I'm going to take this one. You can see the face count here between these two. This one's much lower. Take the first one and delete that. If we're going to create cross sections, especially for the formers, if we look at this from the side, we can see that the base here isn't level. So if we create a line that goes through here, then we can see that the 3D scan hasn't gone all the way around. So we may need to level this base, and that requires splitting this. We can do that using the split tools. So we've got trim and split tools here, and the one we're going to use is the trim mesh with a plane. For that we need a plane. So let's come over to the part workbench, go out to part, create primitives, And then we need a plane in here. So we can create a plane in here. First of all, we need to know how big this is. So let's close that a second and use the measuring tool. And we'll measure across this object. So we've got to select the object from here to here. And we see this is around about 734. So I'm going to create a plane that's about 800. Part, very primitives. Need a plane. We can adjust this if we want to do, just by coming into the tab and the bottom once it's created. So 800, let's go by 800 by 800. And create that and close. So we've got the plane. If I click on it, we can change the length and width here. Got the plane, right click and transform. Let's position this plane so it covers the object from the top. And then we come to the side, to the rear, and drop this down. And we want it so it intersects. Let's make sure it intersects all the way around. To the right. We can come down a bit more actually. Let's click right and use the arrows. Brings us around. I can see we've got a problem here, so bring this up about here. Zoom in if we need to. And use the arrows from the navigation cube to rotate around the object. And it doesn't look like we've got all of that object within there. So that when we're happy, hit OK. Now we've got that there. Let's go back to the mesh workbench. So now we've got our plane intersecting that component. We do a last minute check. Make sure everything's OK. And then we select the plane, control select the component, which is the mesh. Let's bring it around this way to make sure we see that split happen. A little bit of an angle in there. And we'll use this tool here, trim with plane, or meshes, cut in, and trim mesh with plane. It will ask you whether you want to keep the below, above, or the split. So let's pick the above. So I've picked the above and it's taken away the bottom there. And if I take that plane and press the space bar, we can see we've got a nice clean cut going through there. Now, one thing you'll find if you're removing components, you may see these holes in here. You may get something like this. And we can repair that if we select the mesh. There is this tool here to close the holes, and also this one, the fill holes. The close holes, available from meshes, and close hole changes the mouse pointer. So I can fill these holes here. It's best to use this if I right click and leave hole filler mode. When the component is unselected, you can see we've got the tool still available here. So let's click close holes, and there we don't get the flash of the pre-selection of faces, and we can go through and try to close these holes in here. And this is quite a laborious job if you're using this tool. If we've got ones that are quite stubborn, we can use this one and try to close them. A better tool, let's go into this blank space and right click and leave hole filler mode. A better tool is this one here. So we select the mesh and click on this one here, fill holes, or meshes and fill holes. It'll fill with a maximum number of edges. So here we can see we've got probably 4 or 5 edges. So let's go for 3 and hit OK. See, didn't really make any difference. Let's try that again and bring this up to 5 edges and hit OK. We've reduced those holes down, so you can see that's gone. Keep an eye on your mesh, make sure nothing has been removed as well. There's no features on there that have been removed that you want to keep. And you take that again and use the fill hole. Did 5 last time. Let's do something like 8 and hit OK. Let's reduce that down again. A bit higher. 14. Okay, you can see something disappeared over here. So you just have to be careful of that. As I'm just doing cross sections with this, I'm not too worried about the holes. So now this is prepared, ready for cross sectioning. In our follow-up video, we'll look at actually cross sectioning that mesh by using the mesh workbench. And also we're going to look at an alternative way and use the part workbench. So I hope you're enjoying these videos, and I hope to see you in the next one. If you like what you see and you want to donate to the channel, then you can do so via Ko-Fi or Coffee at ko-fi.com/MANG0 or via PayPal at paypal.com/paypalme/DarrenBEstone. I also run a Patreon where you can get early access and additional content, and that's at patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Links can be found in the channel header, on the About page, or in the descriptions of these videos. I thank everybody that's donated so far. It really helps to keep the lights on so I can produce more content and also expand the channel. Thank you for liking, commenting and subscribing to these videos, and I hope to see you again in the next one.